Okay, here's another case of double checking the return hose to the reservoir. I just did the thermostat, same old routine. When I had it running, I didn't see anything coming out of here or out of the return hose, so I blew into it. I can't blow into it, and I even have it disconnected on the cylinder head here. So the port on the head is plugged right now, right there, that black thing. So that leaves this T. So this return hose comes over here to this T where it meets up with the heater core air bleed and the upper radiator hose air bleed. So the restriction is in here. It's just a matter of taking it apart, blowing through it, or take a piece of wire and poke in it, and then later I'll show you the fluid coming out. Okay, sometimes it's easier just to take everything out of the vehicle so you can work with it better. So you can see I made some white marks. So this is the way it was sitting, and then all I took was, where's my wire? Oh, come on. So I just took some welding rod and I poked through it, and then I used compressed air. Now it's all nice and free. I was mistaken about this one running to the T. The overflow or the return hooks up to the throttle body, and then from the throttle body it goes to the T piece. But regardless, nonetheless, everything is clear. If I blow through this one now, that's the hose from the throttle body. So that's clear, and I know the T piece is free, so now I can put everything back together and you'll see coolant coming out of here. Okay, so the T piece is cleaned out or poked out with a piece of wire, and you can see there's coolant flowing now. Always check that coolant returns. You only need to worry about it if you open up the cooling system to do a thermostat, radiator, or whatnot. If you don't see anything coming out and you haven't touched the cooling system yet, then there is no air in the system because it's obviously not overheating, right? So if you don't have any overheating complaints and you don't have any coolant coming out, the water pump is okay, but you have a plugged restriction somewhere along the line. Watching Blade Runner 2049 when I spotted 318. And this is 26 minutes into the movie. Here's a bit of an interesting one. It's nothing major, but still kind of cool to show. Customer complains about tachometer intermittently not working. Same with the dash lights. Right now, tachometer is working. When I turn on the dash lights, everything is okay, and the tachometer. But if I go under here, oops, you can see everything just went off. That's because, oh, just came back on. So there's a loose connection down here. Specifically, this ground is a brown ground wire. If I just wiggle the wire, pushing it up against the cluster, removing it, pushing it up against the cluster. So just a bad connection. When pulling the transmission on a standard transmission to do clutch or whatever, you don't have to disconnect the hydraulics in terms of the slave cylinder. Just disconnect the slave cylinder from the bracket and set it aside. So just take these two bolts out. You can then set the slave cylinder aside. Come on, focus. And then you can continue on. That way you don't have to bleed the system. With the flywheel off, obviously replace the pilot bearing and the seal, the crank seal. Same on the transmission. Take advantage of it. Obviously the release bearing is going to get replaced, but take the sleeve off, replace the input shaft seal, and you're good to go. 2000 Jetta TDI ALH, no start. Looks like some of the teeth are missing. Not good. And this motor was cranked already, so it didn't sound too healthy. Most likely you're gonna need the head job and pistons maybe. Okay. Yeah, christen it. Yeah. I'm gonna say it's gonna run crappy.
They want to tell me that broken tire is always crap. No, not always.
Lucky. This is what I call service. I ordered this yesterday. This is the HexNet, the wireless Rostec VCDS interface. Ordered it yesterday. It arrived today. Can't wait to use it. Goods and bads, I don't care. The main thing for me is the wireless, because every time I use my Verus, this USB port gets stressed. On my old Verus, I had to replace it a couple of times. Send it in for servicing. The first time they fixed it for free. Second time I had to pay for it to get the USB connector working. I think the wireless will be fine. A lot of guys complain about the speed, but I can still hook up the cable if I need to. Anyways, I'll be doing an unboxing and a video about this in the future. It's not running on all cylinders, you can see. 65 going in, less than 5 staying in the cylinder. It's not going past the rings. That's okay. It's not coming out the intake. That's okay. It's coming out of the exhaust. That's no good. 93 Eurovan. Here's a good example of a brake master cylinder that is on its way out. If you quickly step on the brakes, the pedal is firm. If you're standing at a stop sign and you just sort of keep your foot on it, you know, just hovering on it, you can see that it slowly pushes farther and farther. So what's happening is that one of the seals for either for the front or rear circuit, it's bypassing brake fluid. You can see how far it goes now. I can pretty much bottom it all the way out. So it's not a matter of air in the system. See how low it is? It's pretty much down at the bottom. It's not a matter of air in the system. See how much room now? It's just the seals bypassing. I already have a ladybug in the house. No focus. There we go. Oh, that's so cute. Kill it quick. Got this nice mirror from one of my subscribers / viewers. It's nice to have a mirror that works. I keep breaking them, so hopefully this will last a lot longer. Thank you again, Neve. I hope I pronounced the name correctly again. I much appreciate it. For those who want to know, it's a laser brand. I think it's European. Well, it's from Ireland, so but I think laser is a European brand. So thanks again. I'm getting lots of use out of it, and I like the fact that it's a stiff wire. Usually the mirrors are loose at the tip here, or when you adjust them, the tip comes loose and then it flops all over. This one is nice and rigid. It's holding its shape, depending on how you bend it, obviously. Thanks again. Okay, here's a case where you don't really need a moisture tester. You can see how dirty this brake fluid looks. From the side it doesn't look dirty. Here it's dark. There it looks brownish, clearish, but it's definitely dirty. And then when you use a moisture tester, you can see it's pegged right up at 4%. So time for brake fluid flush. If you're bleeding the brakes and nothing is coming out of the bleeder, even after you remove the bleeder from the caliper, just take a metal pin or paper clip and just poke in here and poke through the dirt, and then you should start getting fluid coming out. And you can put your bleeder back on and make sure that your bleeder passes fluid, which it does. So keep that in mind the next time you don't have anything coming out of your bleeder. So I'm really liking the wireless hex nut so far. Just watching temperatures after bleeding the cooling system. So you can see the hex nut down here. That's my one of my other cables. So depending on what I do, I'm getting close to test driving this one, so I'm going to drive it with the hex nut attached. When I just do regular, service checks, I pull it in. I put the car on the hoist and I use the cable. But once I start to go on test drives, that's when I use the hex net. And also, I think in shop now, so I can view it a lot easier here rather than having to look over to the screen, which you guys seen me do usually. So, anyways, so far so good. I really like it. Check those fuel filters. At least every 5 years I would check them. I just dumped this one out, and obviously I blow through it as well, but it's going to settle and it's going to look clear later on, and you can see the dirt settling at the bottom. So I'd say every 5 years. A pump that doesn't have to work hard in terms of sucking or pushing fuel through a filter will last a lot longer than a pump that has to struggle. That's actually a good quote. So you can quote me on that. Have a good weekend. Watching Dragon's Den when I spotted this.
We also share with you the dealer's cost, and we also have
318
insider pricing.
2008 GTI P2187 system to lean at idle. So you can see the short-term fuel trim hovering across 0, going positive, negative, which is good. There's a simple fix. The dipstick was sticking out like this. And you can see fuel trim being high now. And that flagged the code basically. Just got pulled over for distracted driving because I was watching my Verus while driving. I've done this many times and haven't had no issues. This cop was actually quite nice about it, and I was screen recording, so word for word was caught on camera, so to speak. Should make a good video. Stay tuned. Guys, a lot of hammering was going on today at the shop, which made me think of something that happened 20 some odd years ago when I first started. Was an apprentice here. One of the old timers there was hammering away on something with a hammer. I think it was a ball joint on a Type 2 bus. He was just whacking away on it forever, and then he finally decided to get a bigger hammer. And as he came back and took a big swing, he was just about to hit it. The ball joint fell right out without him even touching it. That was hilarious.